Happy Father's Day to all the dads that are here. So glad that all of you have come to Life Church this morning to be a part of the Life Church experience, to be in God's presence. We've got a great few moments ahead for all of you. We want to celebrate dads. So thankful for dads. We want to honor men this morning. Today's all about superheroes. If you're watching online, we're so glad that you're here. Maybe you're watching at home. Father's Day, you're going to watch this about a week or two later. But for all of you that are watching today, we're so glad that you're here. Let's do a little superhero thing. How many of you, with a show of hands, how many ever dreamed, maybe more the guys than the girls, how many dreamed of ever being a superhero? Anybody here? All right, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's get a little bit personal here. How many of you, when you were dreaming about being a superhero, ran around the house wearing nothing more than a cape, a t-shirt, and a pair of underwear? Anybody? Not as many people raised their hands. All right, let's do it this way. How many know somebody that ran around the house in their underwear and a cape? Right, because you were a superhero. And all of us have dreamed about being a superhero because if we were a superhero, we could do stuff that nobody else could do. It would just be awesome. And we would only use our powers for good stuff. And we would get our 15 minutes of fame. And if we were a superhero and could do phenomenal things, everybody would like us. Now, let's just be honest. Every kid dreamed about that, right? Because we all wanted to be accepted in school. And if I could just get so mad I was like the Incredible Hulk, I'd take care of them bullies, for not only for me, but for the whole school, right? I'd just take care of all of it. So we've all dreamed about being a superhero. Let me test your superhero knowledge a little bit. We're going to test your superhero knowledge. I'm going to say the slogan or the phrase of the superhero, and then you tell me which superhero said it. We'll start out with easy ones. Up, up, and away. Up, up, and away. Let's try this again. I started out with the easy one, all right? Superman. Few people said it, right? Up, up, and away. How about this one? Here I come to save the day. Who said that one? Mighty Mouse. No, it's Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse. Right, that's Mighty Mouse said that. See, if you're under 50, you don't have a clue who Mighty Mouse is probably, right? Okay. How about this one? Have no fear. Underdog is here. There you go. You guys are really good. How about this one? I'm going to really test you this morning. I am Diana, Princess of the Amazon. Wonder Woman. All right. All right. We're going. It's going. Oh, let me just get one that you all can get. Who said this one? To the Batmobile. There you go. All right. You redeemed yourself. It's all good. It's all good. But all of us have dreamed about being a superhero. But you know what? There's this thing in all of us here this morning. I don't care if you're young, old, male or female, there is this thing inside of you that makes you a superhero. All of us can be a superhero. It's just that we don't discover it because when opportunities present themselves for us to become superheroes, we tend to avoid them. We will see the difficulties and the challenges in our lives as an obstacle instead of an opportunity. And I want to tell you this morning about a character in the Bible that saw what could potentially be an obstacle. I would look at it as an obstacle, but he didn't. He saw it as an opportunity. And as we look into the Word of God, we're going to read about a guy who was a soldier for King David. King David, we know, is the most famous king of all time. And King David had this incredible fighting force, the elite. He had 30 fighting men that were in his elite army. I mean, he had a huge army of tens of thousands, but there was the 30. They were called the 30. And amongst the 30, there were the 3. And the writer of the book of Samuel and Chronicles kind of highlights one guy, and only 2 verses are really even given to this one guy. It's really an amazing thing. So we're going to read this a little bit about this soldier, this guy that worked for King David, who saw something that could be an obstacle for any of us, but he saw it as a moment of opportunity. It was an amazing story. He was a man's man. As we get into this, just read it with me for a little bit. We'll put the scriptures up here. You can read with me. 1 Chronicles chapter 11, beginning in verse number 22. The guy's name that we're going to talk about, his name is Benaiah. And here's what it says about Benaiah. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada. If there's anybody in here starting a family, you're thinking about like some names for your children, here's a couple ideas for you. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, he was a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. Now, the writer's going to get more specific. I'm going to jump around a little bit. Here's how it goes. Here's one of the things he did. He did many heroic deeds, which included, one of them was this, he killed 2 champions from Moab. I mean, you don't have to get very far into Benaiah's life. You find out this guy's a man's man, right? Everybody else avoided the 2 champions of Moab. Benaiah said, bring him on, right? So he killed these 2 guys. Not done yet, not done yet. The writer keeps going. Verse number 23, I'm skipping around a little bit. Number 23, this is awesome. Once, armed only with a club, he killed an Egyptian warrior who was 7.5 feet tall. And before, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? No, this guy is 7.5 feet tall. What would you do if all you hit a club and you're encountering some big warrior who's 7.5 feet tall? You'd do the same as I would. You'd run scared like a bunny rabbit, right? Well, not Benaiah. He encounters this warrior who is 7.5 feet tall and whose spear was as thick as a weaver's beam. How many know how big a weaver's beam is? Raise your hand. I have no clue. It must be big because he put it in here, right? Here's what happened. This is an awesome movie. Benaiah, he wrenched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and he killed him with it. Can you just imagine? I don't know how big Benaiah is. Let's just guess. He's 5'8" and 190 pounds, but he's built, right? And here's this guy, 7.5 feet tall. He runs straight at him. I'm not afraid of you. And then he takes the club. I don't know, maybe beat the guy in the fingers. The knuckles slapped him like your teacher used to hit your knuckles with a ruler. I don't know. And he grabs a hold of the spear and he wrenches it from him. And then it's slow-mo. You saw the movie, didn't you? Right? And he kills the guy with it. It's an amazing, amazing thing. But you haven't seen anything yet when it comes to Benaiah. This is just astounding. If you thought this is good, it gets better. Because the writer says this in verse number 22. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased a lion down into a pit and killed it. I know, right? You're all just sitting here go like, big whoop. I saw that last night on a movie. I mean, it's no big deal. I've seen Rambo and I've seen, Braveheart and all the movies. Like, what big deal? I'm telling you, I don't know what possessed Benaiah. It's a snowy day. That's all the details we have about this. It's a snowy day. There was a pit. There was a lion, and Benaiah killed it. Now, if you're walking along one day, I imagine it's a snowy day in Palestine. I can see it. It's a heavy, wet snow, and the wind is blowing it. We get those kinds of storms in the spring. It's the kind of snow that sticks in your eyes and makes it hard to see. I don't know if Benaiah is traveling with a group of guys. I don't know if he's by himself. Somebody must have seen him. They heard the story. And as he's walking along, he sees footprints in the snow. It's a fresh snow, and he sees tracks. He recognizes them as lion footprints. Now, I'm just curious, take a poll here this morning. If you saw lion footprints, how many of you would be compelled to follow them? Right. So something happens and Benaiah's thinking, hey, look, a kitty. And he starts following the lion tracks. And as he gets down the line a little ways, he can see obviously that in the impressions in the side of the hill or at the edge of a cliff, there's a drop-off. Maybe the lion is looking for its own prey. We don't know the details or the circumstances. And he walks over to the edge, and he gets to the edge, and it's a darkened pit because of the dark sky and the snow. And as he looks down into the pit, all he can see is the glow of those yellow eyes. And I don't know what possesses Benaiah. Maybe it's like a bet and a dare. Hey, guys, watch this. I don't know why he's doing this. But with spear in hand or whatever weapon that he had in hand, Benaiah jumps into the pit and he kills the lion. You thought about that? Have you thought about the odds of defeating a lion from the pit? There's not a lot of room to move around when you're in hand-to-paw combat with a lion. And if the lion begins to win the battle and you want to run away, there's not a whole lot of options. If the lion can't climb out of the pit, what are your odds of getting out in a hurry, right? But something possessed him. We don't know how long he stood there. Did he rationalize about this battle? Did he say, well, lions have big teeth and lots of claws. I weigh 180, 190. He's 400, maybe 500. I don't know. And if I jump down there, it's snowy, kind of muddy. My wife is going to get mad if I get these clothes dirty. I don't know, What is he thinking? I don't know. I think he just jumped into the pit. He saw an opportunity, not an obstacle. And you know why? Because God is in the business of writing resumes for us. God is in the business of presenting us with challenges in our lives so that he can build us up and not tear us down. That we can stand before the obstacles. All of us in this room have our own pits with a lion inside. And unfortunately, too many times we have run away because when we get into difficult situations, we say, God, get me out of this. And instead we should be saying, God, what can I get out of this? And so Benaiah jumps down into the pit and he begins a battle with the lion. Dads, if you're a dad, you're already in the pit with a lion. Dads, you're already there. You're already facing that kind of a battle if you're a dad today. Because do you remember, Dad, do you remember the first day you brought that first child home from the hospital? It was easy in the hospital, wasn't it? I mean, if Junior made any kind of a noise at all, we just brought him to Mama, or the nurses were there, or we had family there, and everybody wanted to hold the baby, and it was just kind of this magical, ideal kind of world there, wasn't it, when you're in the hospital? And then you brought that little baby home. And you know what that baby revealed to you? How incredibly selfish you are and how amazingly inadequate you can feel, because you know that this little baby depends upon you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for many years ahead. And then they're a toddler. And you're there trying to protect and keep them from harm and from danger, and yet trying to raise them up to think for themselves and stand on their own 2 feet. And then they go from being a toddler into an adolescent. And when they're an adolescent, they start asking questions. Where do babies come from? The hospital. Yeah, that's a great answer. You're already in the pit. And then they turn into a teenager. And you're just not sure what to do with them. You can't kill them and eat them, and you don't know how to raise them, right? You just don't know what to do. And the incredible thing about those teenagers, they know more about life than you do. It's just an incredible thing. And you stand there and you stare at your teenager like a lion in the bottom of a pit. You don't know what to do, but you're there, Dad. You're there. You're already there. And then they get into adulthood. What do you do with them as an adult? Can't take the keys away. Well, maybe some can, because I'm 28 and live home with Mom and Dad. I don't know, but if you're a dad, if you're a mom, you're in the pit with a lion already. But for all of us, life hands us difficulties. Life hands us situations that are like lions in the bottom of the pit. It's a financial crisis for some of you today. You know that you need to take this thing head on, but you've been running away from it because you're afraid of it. You're afraid to deal with it. For some of you, it might be a relationship challenge. You're in an unhealthy relationship. You know that you need to get out. You know that you need to break up. You need to make the phone call. You need to do whatever it is you need to do. But you're afraid of hurting their feelings. You're afraid of the phone call. You're afraid of the fallout. You're afraid of the circumstances. And so instead of jumping into the pit with a lion, you just avoid the pit altogether. And yet there's something about it when you walk away from that thing, because here's what I know. None of us likes the feeling of uncertainty. If I go into the battle, I don't know the outcome. But I do know the feeling of victory. I know how good it feels to have that victory. I know how good it feels to walk away from the battleground. Can you imagine when Benaiah kills the lion, jumps out of the pit, and his all buddies are standing there just absolutely mortified? They can't believe what they saw. He jumped into the pit, and they hear the roar and the ruckus coming out, and out comes Benaiah. Can you imagine anything? And they just celebrated and had pizza. It was awesome. It was an incredible day. We love the feelings of victory in those kinds of situations. And the lion in the pit is so intimidating because of the odds. So we avoid those obstacles and those difficulties. And we say, God, get me out of this situation. When instead we should have been praying, God, what can I get out of this situation? But overcoming lions in our life, listen to me, church, when you overcome a lion in your life, it creates within your life the heart of a lion. When you overcome the lions in your life, it creates within you the heart of a lion. This boldness, this courage, this tenacity, this inner strength. And I'm telling you that all of the superheroes that I'm standing with this morning, all of the superheroes I stand with this morning were just, if you look at Iron Man, there was nothing special about Tony Stark, was there? Tony Stark was just a man. Yeah, he had money. But he's just a man. There's nothing. But when he put on the suit, he becomes the superhero. There's nothing special about him. Otherwise, Captain America, I don't know, he got injected with something from Tony Stark. I learned all this in the first service. You know, Thor, this is the best superhero because he's Norwegian, right? And we got a few awake people in here. Peter Parker, just an ordinary guy. just an ordinary guy. But when circumstances demand, when there's danger, when there's crisis, Peter Parker turns into Spider-Man and he steps into it. I'm telling you, dads today, God has strategically placed you as the head, the leader of your household, so that when the dangerous, the difficult, the trying situations arise in life, you jump into the pit, you take the sword, you cut off the head of the lion, you jump out and say, I did it. We can lead this family. That's what it's all about, just being a dad. It's everyday people being superheroes. Every day. And all of us have the ability to do those things. Now, dads, you're in the pit. Moms, you're there as well, raising children, supporting your home, standing against the tide of the culture that presses against the walls of your house, that clamors for the attention of your children. We know the outcome of Benaiah's battle because we just read it. We could just gloss right over it. It's just so matter of fact. But what would you do if you were Benaiah? What would you do if you stood at the edge of the pit and looked inside? Would you jump in? We don't know the outcome, but we know the feeling of victory when we overcome. We don't know the outcome, but we know the feeling of victory when we overcome. And here's what I know about you as a parent. If you're a parent and you've ever put your children out there, your children have been out there somewhere, and your children have been out there and they've been on the ball field and you've stood, you know that their Goliath is out there. You know that this is their obstacle, this is their lion. And you're back there, you're standing or sitting helplessly on the stands, and there's little Johnny, little Junior, little Missy, whoever she is, and she's out there and she's got a hold of the bat. And you know how afraid she is to be out there. You know how afraid your son is. What if I miss? All my friends are sitting in the dugout watching. They're all going to laugh at me. And you're watching. Your eyes are glued. And there they are. They're standing up there at the home plate, and they got the bat. It's a swing and a miss. It's a ball. It's a swing and a miss. And then finally that sweet pitch comes. That ball just goes flying out there. And you know what you're doing as a parent? Like it went 30 feet. It was no big deal. But you as a parent, did you see that? Did you see? And you just go blitzing. You get everybody, you're buying peanuts for everybody in the crowd, and you're giving away all did you see that? And they're all going, well, we've seen that a million times, big deal. But this is your child that stood up and faced the odds and hit the ball and overcame their fear. And you're like, yeah. You know what? I think when God, our Father, looks at you and me, overcome the lions in our life, I think our God goes, did you see that? Did you see what he did? Just look at that. I am so proud of him. He killed that habit. He overcame the financial crisis. He got through the relationship problem. He prayed with his family. He prayed with his wife. He overcame the fear of praying with his family. Did you see that? Ooh, that's my boy right there. I think that's the God that we serve, don't you? Because if that's in the heart of an earthly father, where do you think that came from? I think it came from our Heavenly Father. Dads, I'm excited for you this morning. God strategically places us in front of pits with lions all the time so that when we seize the moment and grab the lion by the mane and throw it down and stab it and kill it, God gets the glory. Now, all of us have different looking pits with lions inside, but they're there nonetheless. For your pastor, as I stand before you this morning and talk about these things, my pit with a lion at the bottom and those glowing yellow eyes and the fear is building a church. I love the people that come alongside. Yeah, we need to do this, Pastor. We can do it. This is God's plan for us. This is awesome. I believe in it. We're going to do this. And then they all just, yeah, we're all excited. And I'm the one that goes home saying, well, we got to raise money to do this. I mean, that's my lion. That's my pit. We just jump in. Planting a church. That's another great, it could be an obstacle or an opportunity. I believe it's an opportunity. But there's challenges that lay ahead for all of those things. For some of you, it might be breaking a relationship this morning. You know what, dads, for some of you, look, I know where this is at. You know what your lion in the pit might be? It might be leading your family spiritually, because I know how incredibly scary this is, because when you get married, nobody equips you for this. They don't tell you how to do this. They don't tell you how to lead your family spiritually. I remember when I first sat down with Robin, we're newlyweds and sitting on an old borrowed couch, and we're at the east end of the couch near the sliding glass doors in our first apartment. And well, here we are praying. And I don't know what to pray, and I don't know what to say. But I do remember what I felt. I felt incredibly inadequate and vulnerable. And men don't like to feel that. You know what? You persevere and you just keep going long enough. Here we are 26 years later, and marriage just gets better for it. Look, guys, I know how scary it can be to lead your family, to say at the supper table, look, we're going to shut off the TV set, we're going to pray. And we're going to thank God for our meal tonight. I know how scary that can be. I know how difficult that can be. Leading your family as a parent, mom, look, maybe you're a single mom. I know how difficult it can be because you know what? You're trying to raise your children with certain standards in a world that has none. Standing up to the bully, standing up to the abuser in your life, killing the habit in your life. For all of us, we all have lions in a pit somewhere in our life. It looks different for each and every one of us. It's just ordinary people becoming superheroes because they set aside their fears. They set aside their fears. I think that day when Benaiah stood next to the pit, I don't think he was fearless. I think he just knew what he had to do. I don't know if he had something to prove, like maybe he was trying to impress a girl. I don't know, you know. Was he trying to impress his friends? We don't know the motivation, but we do know that any man staring at the eyes of a lion in a pit, regardless of snowy, rainy, sunshiny, full of mosquitoes, it doesn't matter, right? He jumps into the pit and he kills the lion. He just did it because he had to do it. Probably for no other person than himself. What about you? Dads, you can do it. I'm going to show you in a moment that God has already equipped you to be a superhero in your home, and I'm going to give you some tools to do it. Dad, men, let me speak to all the dads and all the men for just a moment. God has strategically placed you. If you're a dad today, or a man leading a marriage, leading a home, you're the roof to protect. You're the fence that surrounds. And God has strategically placed you to be a superhero in the lives of your family. And the incredible thing about it is, you don't have to be any big spiritual giant to do it. You just need to be a Peter Parker. You just need to be a Tony Stark. That's all you need. You just need to be a Bruce Banner, just an ordinary person. But when extraordinary circumstances demand it, you become the superhero because you step up. When you're afraid to step up, you do it anyway. And you become the superhero even though you're just an ordinary person. And I'll tell you what, men, when you start to lead the home spiritually, when you take the stand and you start to lead, your wives are going to think you are better looking than any of these Thor right there, right? Okay. Because I heard one girl say the other day, he's dreamy. Tell you what, guys, you lead your family spiritually, you're going to be dreamy-er, all right? Isn't that awesome to know? Ladies, come on, let them know that that's the case, right? Okay. So I want to share with you in just a moment how to be a superhero. Here's how we're going to end the service. I'm going to show you how, men, you're already a superhero. I'm going to give one man in here some tools to be a superhero in his home. And men, it's going to be an example to all of you how you can be superheroes in your home. Then I'm going to share with you a little video. And then dads, we're going to have all the dads come up, stand in the front. And when the movie's coming on, just to give you a heads up, when the movie's running, the children about ages 3 and up are going to come in here and meet you as a family. And then we're going to dismiss after that, okay? So that's how things are going to go. So I've already talked to somebody. I've never met this guy before. I hope he still likes me at the end of the service today. In fact, during worship, I sat down and talked to his wife to see if I could get permission to do this, all right? So I've never met this guy before. I hope you come back to church. So anyway, your name's Josh. Josh, I want you to come on up here this morning, okay? Give Josh a hand, encourage him, come on up here. You know. All right, Josh. Just stand right there, buddy. Stand right there, all right? Your name's Josh?
Yes, sir.
I'm Chris. Nice to meet you. Have you been here before?
Nope.
First time here?
Yep.
Here's a superhero, right? All right. Josh, I'm going to give you some things this morning as an example, and I just want the rest of the church to listen. And you can keep these things. The guy did this with the last service, says, do you want these back? I said, no, you keep them, right? Here's a road atlas, not just any road atlas. This is the Adventure Edition. I saw that you're a dad. A couple of beautiful little boys back there. You know what, as a dad, you're the driver. You're the leader. You need some direction. And there's a road atlas. It's the Adventure Edition because when you're a dad, life's an adventure, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We're not, yes, it is. We're not done yet. Josh, here's some leather gloves I got for you. Josh, let these cover your hands because your hands are what serve your family. Men, we lay down our lives for our families. Let these protect the hands that serve your family. Josh, there's a lot of people in the world say, you know what, we don't get a lot of quantity time together, but we get quality time. There's no substitute for quantity. Inside this little box, there's an awesome clock in here. It's not a watch, it's a clock. This is really a cool clock, and you can stick it anywhere. It's got some adhesive or something. You can stick it in the car or wherever. Nothing says love by giving time. Let it be a reminder that your children need your time. And then Josh, this is really cool. I wish I was getting this. This is cool. Look at this. This is a utility key. There's a key that goes on your key ring. It's stainless steel. And look, it says read directions before you use this. Because it's got like a saw and a knife and screwdrivers and bottle opener, the whole thing. Let this represent you are the key to your home. You protect your home. You lock the door to keep things out. You unlock the door to keep things in. You're the gatekeeper, okay? And then, Josh, men always become stronger when they pray for their families. So I got you some knee pads, Josh. Okay? There you go. Let them represent the time that you spend on your knees praying for your wife and children. And just a side note, they really stink rubber, so put them out in the garage, right? Okay. Okay. Two more things, Josh, two more things. I got you some duct tape. This isn't ordinary duct tape. This is Love Notes duct tape, right? Love Notes. This is good. It's pretty, okay? It's really pretty. Let this represent the hugs that you offer to your wife and to your children. And you hold them all together with the adhesive of the love and hugs you as a dad and a husband give to your family.
I'll use it on them.
You'll use it on... No. This is... All right. Not going there. All right. One final thing, Josh. You know, men hate feeling inadequate and ill-equipped. And when we do, we feel disrespected. This is God's Word. It's our instruction book, how to lead our lives and lead our families. And nothing will transform your life and your family, your home, and your own heart more than the Word of God. So use this as your instruction manual to love and to lead. There you go.
I will.
Give him a hand. Josh, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you this morning. To all the men that are here, I'm so very, very proud of you. And men, what I did is just gave out some very practical things that he can use in life. And it's a reminder to all of us as men, as dads, husbands, fathers, of what's required to lead a home.